Well, welcome to the heart and soul of American Vintage Firearms, Cody, Wyoming. Today we're out at the Cody Shooting Complex to do some function testing on a classic American lever action firearm. Now, while a lot of people have lamented the fact that we're not going to get the great scenery that we did back at the Cinnabar, as you can see, Cody's not too shabby for the scenery as well. You can see Hart Mountain in the background. We're right on the edge of the mountains leading up to Yellowstone Park, and some of this desert prairie ground out here to our east. It's just fantastic country. And this is a fantastic shooting complex. As one might expect, a place like Cody with such a firearms history and culture here. This is just a fabulous shooting complex. We've got trap and skeet over here. We've got an indoor shoots and range, a long range silhouette range, long range rifle range, target range, cowboy action over here, an NRA classroom. Let's see, there's also a pistol range, a plinking range. There's some targets up over the hills back up here through the juniper, sporting clays, and I'm probably missing some. It's just a fabulous facility here. So stick with us and we'll take a little look at these Colt Burgess lever actions. We've got one light carbine, or what most people call a baby carbine, and a rifle that we need to do some function testing with. Now, if you've watched this channel much, you've seen me do episodes on the Colt Burgess lever action before, but this is the first time we've had one of these light carbines. And Colt actually did call these a light carbine, even though most collectors call them a baby carbine. And they're very aptly named. You see, this one barely tips the scales at 5 pounds. It feels like the old Daisy BB guns we used to play with as kids. Now, when the Colt Lightning carbines came along and they started making their lighter version of the Colt Lightning and called it a baby carbine, and actually Colt did call those a baby carbine. The only difference between it and a standard carbine was the diameter of the barrel. Now, it had kind of a lightweight rapid taper barrel, whereas the standard carbines had a straight tapered barrel. And it's the same way with these light Burgess lever action carbines, except they also lightened up the receiver in several places too to save on weight, whereas the Colt Lightnings, they left the receivers alone. So let's take a little closer look at this one to see where it's been lightened up besides just the barrel, and we'll compare it to a Colt Burgess rifle that we've brought along as well to function test today. Now, the first thing you might notice when we compare the barrel on this light carbine to a standard Burgess rifle is just how incredibly thin this barrel profile is. And we don't have a standard carbine to compare it to, but the standard carbines are much more closer to the diameter of this rifle than to this baby carbine. The barrel actually is quite a little bit thinner than the magazine tube. And in fact, the front barrel band here is smaller on the top around the barrel than it is around the magazine tube. So you can't get these upside down like you can on some carbines. And just look at the difference in the diameter of the barrels at the muzzle. This light carbine on this side, there's just barely a ring of steel around it. As opposed to this rifle, this round-barreled rifle, you can see the dramatic difference. Now, Colt didn't stop with that ultralight barrel profile in their attempts to lighten up these Burgess carbines. The first thing you might notice is the lever itself. Look at how thin this portion of the lever is on this light carbine as opposed to the thicker lever on this Burgess rifle. Now, the next thing you might notice, and maybe some of you already picked up on it, is the opening for the loading gate. You see over here on this rifle and on a standard carbine, they're round in the front. But on a light carbine, they're actually square. And that's the easiest way you can tell from several feet away that you're dealing with a light carbine as opposed to a standard carbine on a Burgess. Now, the next thing you might notice is this step in the receiver. Right up here on the breech end of the barrel, or above the breech end of the barrel, we've got a step where it's thinned out. We don't have that on the rifles or the standard carbines. See, it's much thicker and wider up here. And the last thing you might see is if you put them side by side, you can see that a light carbine receiver is actually thinner than on a rifle or a standard carbine. When we measure it, it's nearly a 100 thousandths difference, which is pretty darn significant. So Colt really did some amazing stuff to try to lighten these carbines up to where they barely tip the scales at 5 pounds. Okay, so here's our setup. I'm going to first shoot this rifle. This one I've shot before. It's in dandy condition, has a really good bore. We're shooting real low pressure, smokeless cowboy action loads. In fact, these produce less pressure than our black powder counterparts. Now this one I just need to function test because recently I needed a bunch of Colt Burgess parts, so I took the bolt out of this one, sent it to my good buddy Sam Simmons down in Arkansas, and he reproduced a whole bunch of these parts for me. So if you're needing Burgess parts, Sam might have a few extra, and if he doesn't, I might be able to set you up. So let's see how this old girl shoots. We've got a target out here 25 yards, another one out here at 50, just to kind of put them through their paces. Okay, let's try 50. Not bad. Oh, I like it. This is one smooth cycling rifle. Let's check out that baby carbine now. Okay, so this baby carbine, I've done quite a little bit of work to it, so this is going to be a true test to see if this thing's going to operate now. Let's see how she feeds. Ooh, smooth as silk. I love it. Boy, this thing is just incredibly light. Hey, and it shoots. Oh, I love it. Let's see that 50-yard target. I heard it hit, but I didn't see where. We got one more. I love it. What a wonderful little Burgess rifle. Now I don't think it's probably real accurate because the bore's not great on this one like it is on that rifle. And all I've got is these Cowboy Action factory loads with me. All my other stuff is back in Oregon. Unfortunately, that's one of the problems I'm having in moving is I've got some oversized lead bullets that would probably shoot really well in this, but they're about a 15-hour drive away. So when we get back to Oregon, we'll get some of those old girls. Okay, so what I found is that this light carbine is shooting very low. And of course, you know we got to shoot a jug, so we got to at least get it sighted in enough we can shoot one of these jugs. So we're going to flip up this carbine ladder sight and see if we can get it up onto paper, and then see if maybe we can put the hurt on a jug. That guy's got a lot more firepower than we do. Okay, let's see where we hit. Actually, that hit really high. Maybe we better flip it back down. Okay, now I see where she's shooting. Oh, she wasn't shooting low, that was the rifle. This one's shooting high. There, we've got all sorts of water coming out of that jug. Let's put some more hurt on it. Oh, there, we made it jump. Oh, now we got her dialed in. All right, that's a dead soldier out there now. Okay, now this light carbine is just so much fun to shoot, and I'm a little surprised at how well it's shooting. I really expected it to just be all over the place. You know, it doesn't have a very good bore, and we're shooting most likely undersized bullets in it, but it shot well enough. I've got to give myself a try at hitting a jug out there at 100 yards. Heart Mountain right over the back watching us. I loaded up 5 here. Let's see if we can get it in 5 shots. Drilled it first shot. Well, what do you think? First shot at 100 yards offhand with this old girl. And that may not seem like a great feat for those of us who have modern scoped hunting rifles, but with this old girl, what is this thing, 140 years old or more, and poor bore and first time ever shooting it, I'm plumb pleased. What a fun little carbine to shoot as well. Now, you know, most of you probably know, if you know anything about these Burgess rifles and carbines, they only made a little over 6,000 of them before they stopped production, opted for the Colt Lightning slide action rifles. And of those, under 1,000 of them were these light carbines. You rarely see them come up for sale. I don't think that many of them survived. I think they got used really hard. So if you ever get a chance to go out and buy one after this experience, I'd say go for it. And now that I was testing this one out and contemplating selling it, but I'm gonna have a hard time letting this one go, I can tell you. Well, thanks for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Until next time, happy trails from the Cody Shooting Complex.